I bet you didn't know this. A complete yoga practice includes breath work, mantra, meditation, movement, relaxation, and some wisdom along the way. That's what a real, full, complete yoga practice is. The good news is that Kundalini Yoga has all of them. And it's amazing how that combination of different forms of yoga create a practice where we get to shift. We get to create transformation in our lives. And so let me break down each of those elements a little bit more so that you have a sense of what they're doing. Okay, let's start with mantra. Each Kundalini Yoga class starts with an opening mantra. Mantra is a sound vibration. The sound vibration has the impact, first of all, in the mouth. So when we're creating a sound, we are also stimulating all of the organs in our bodies. There's 84 meridian points in the mouth. And those meridian points stimulate physical function. The sound itself goes out into the universe, creates an echo, and brings experiences back. So that's what mantra does. And so we may be more familiar with mantras in English. I'm so busy, I'm so busy, I'm so busy. Or, you pick. You probably have a few mantras going in your mind that you exercise often and think about the experiences that those mantras bring to you. And so here, what we're doing is using sacred language, the language of Gurmukhi, which is an ancient wisdom tradition, language tradition from India. And this language tradition is not a spoken language. It is a spiritual language. And that spiritual language is designed thousands of years ago to create a specific kind of effect, a spiritual effect. And so that's number one, is that we're using mantra. Number two is we're using breath work. When we breathe, we are bringing in oxygen and releasing carbon dioxide. On one level, on a very basic level, this keeps life moving. The difference between life and death is the breath. And so as we go through our normal lives, we are breathing. And then when we introduce the concept of breath work, in other words, putting very deliberate focus on the length of breath, the depth of breath, how we're breathing, either through the nostrils or through the mouth, we start to create a bigger effect. So in the world of yoga, breath work is called pranayama. Prana means life force. Yama means control. So pranayama is control of the life force. Beautiful, powerful, just in the word itself. And so when we think about adjusting the flow of life force, we start to get a sense, a very little sense of what it is we're doing when we focus on our breathing. And it is very easy to say when somebody is in a high alert situation or they're freaking out, hey, take a long, deep breath, take a breath. We've all heard this advice. And while it's good advice and a really good starting spot, did you know that there are literally hundreds of different breathing practices that you can do, whether for sleep or alertness or digestion or fever or anger or sadness, or you name it, creativity, you name it. It exists in the world of yoga. And so that's part of a Kundalini yoga practice, is controlling the life force so that we can fuel the body on multiple different levels, on a spiritual level, physical level, emotional level, so that we have that little extra to get through a challenge, that little extra to go through the pain, the physical pain of something, or any other kind of challenge. And then to also self-soothe. And all of those elements, learning those elements helps us to have a more regulated life. Number three is movement. And this is the really powerful part. And what we've seen yoga move into all kinds of different avenues, into gyms and fitness centers and studios, is that we understand on a very basic level that we need to move our bodies for the aesthetics of it. Feeling strong, looking strong is part of our cultural norms in the West for sure. And what we know on a physiological basis is that when we squeeze and tense the body and we release, there is the release of something called a hope molecule. The hope molecule is what lifts us up, that helps us feel better, that helps to shake depression or anxiety or out of the funk that we're sitting in our brains. It gives us a little access to something different, a different way of being or thinking or moving. And as conscious beings, that's required. And in order to problem solve, we need to do something different. And the easiest way is to breathe different, talk different, move different. And then we move into meditation. And meditation is a way of focusing the mind. So what you'll see in a Kundalini Yoga class is a very structured approach. We'll start by breathing, and then we'll use sound vibration to alert the body system and the universe, hey, we're doing something important here. And then there will be movement, and that movement to create tension and awareness and release all of those hope molecules. And once we're physically a little bit more tired or a little bit more released, so the stress has been released, we can sit and focus the mind. What is it that we want to achieve? What's the problem that needs to be solved? What is sitting in the back of my mind, kind of creating weight, my personal history, my generational stuff, my connections with other people? How can I safely interact with these things, these ideas, these people? And through meditation, you often find the solutions, and they were right there inside of us the entire time. And so this is how a Kundalini Yoga practice works, is that we're going to systematically use all of those different ancient techniques, scientifically proven techniques, in order to move ourselves forward, to get out of that stuck place, to come through anxiety, to finally get a grip on what is creating that depression or those haunting memories. We can start to clear them. Now, having said all that, when you start to go through my YouTube channel, it's like a catalog of different experiments with movement, meditation, breath work. What you'll find is the titles will give you an indicator of what we're going to be working on. And that's the beautiful part about Kundalini Yoga. It is like a medicine. In fact, that's how I think about it. So if you know what it is that's bothering you, then you can find the remedy. And that's the key, is that it is so prescriptive, it is so relatable, that whatever challenges that you're facing, whatever it is that you want to open a portal for or make a little easier in your life or expand on, you can find the remedy. So here's how you do that. Take a look through some of the playlists on this channel, and we've organized it in several different ways. There's one for beginner practices, fairly straightforward, relatively short. And there are others that are for emotional well-being. There are others for physical well-being, for mental health. If you're a teacher or a doctor or a nurse or a counselor, all of those elements have been curated for you so that you can have a little bit more of a streamlined approach. And so here's my recommendation for you. Hopefully you're starting to get a little excited about what's waiting for you, and use your intuition. In other words, you can see literally hundreds of different videos. Go to the one that catches your attention. Maybe you have a logical thing in mind, but I want to invite you to step into your intuitive self, the part of you that knows how to pick stuff without worrying about what the words are. Maybe it's the image that catches you. Maybe it's the title that catches you. Maybe there's something that somebody told you and it's led you to this particular video. Go ahead, follow that. You can't go wrong. And at the same time, learning how to trust ourselves, learning how to make choices for ourselves is part of this journey. Okay. So I want to leave you with that idea that you can't go wrong. Now, there are many of you who are also looking at the incredible variety and saying, okay, I want some support here. I know that there are a few key things and I want to choose with understanding and awareness. So show me what those are. And the way to do that is a process called numerology. Numerology is study of your year, month, and date of birth, a conversation with you and what you're working through, what you're working with, what you want to achieve. And that's a consult, you and me, where we sit down and get clarity on all that stuff. And through that clarity, then I can help you choose a practice. And again, it's a stepping stone. It's a place to jumpstart your practice, or maybe you found you've done a whole bunch of them and you want to now take it a little bit further. That's the time for these kind of conversations, or when you're at a transition. Okay, so those are three ways. One is if you're just starting out. Number two is if you kind of hit a place of, okay, I've been doing this for a while. I'm not quite sure what's next. I want to deepen. Show me something I wouldn't have thought about. And then third one is if you're going through some kind of transition, a breakup, a work change, a desire for any of those things, starting to be a parent, wanting to be a parent, or in the middle of a parenting challenge, in a business challenge. Any of those places is a good way to call in numerology. And that's a one-time session. It's one and done. And then maybe a year from now, you follow up again, maybe not, and that's totally fine. But it's a way of getting us acquainted. We get one-on-one time, and also a really good way to direct your energy. So if we think about Kundalini Yoga like a medicine, then from a spiritual level, numerology is the prescription. Okay. So we know that you chose the circumstances of your birth and your birth date. And what does this information guide us to in terms of your next step? Okay, so that's numerology. And then the next place to think about is yoga therapy. So let's say you are working through something challenging. Maybe there's a generational um, presence of addiction or trauma of some kind. Maybe, just maybe, you are working through your own lifetime of challenges. That's a good time to apply yoga therapy. So yoga therapy, if we think about numerology as a one-time consult with a lot of insight and a chance to sit down and really get deep into something, yoga therapy is an expansion of that. We start with numerology and then we meet weekly for a set number of weeks in order to get in there, massage what's happening, and then start to track and notice changes. And we'll use Kundalini Yoga, breath work, meditation for that. Okay, so that's the extensions. And you may hear me talk about those things on other platforms and also here on YouTube. I just wanted to give you a little insight on how all these pieces work together. If any of that's of interest, you can go and check the links in the bio. You can get in touch with me pretty quickly, pretty easily, and I'm happy to help. From here, let's move on to the next video. Lots of love. Until next time, my name is Salima, yoga therapist.